Good morning, Brandon. I'm going to wait just a minute for Grant, and if he's not here in a minute or so, I'll just start up at that time.
Okie dokie.
All right, perhaps he'll join us. So, good morning. Today is Wednesday, the 1st of February, day number 15 for the class. And what I did this morning was I emailed everyone a folder that has in it the pretest, which we're going to go over in about a minute, and additionally some images that you may or may not choose to use with the pretest. So I've actually kind of put out here about the next 10 days that we're going to be going through. All right, 9 days, I guess, 9 or 10, whatever. So again, today we're going to go over the directions for the Chapter 9 pretest. It's a little more extensive than most of the stuff we've done before. All right. After this, as it says, you'll have the rest of the day today and all period tomorrow to work on the pretest. Now remember, it's a pretest. What that means is if you decide you don't want to do it at all, that's your call. All right. And I'm not talking to anybody in particular out here, but if you'll get done what you can get done. All right. So after this first half hour or so today, I won't be taping any more than this week, period. I will be online every day. So if you've got questions, just feel free to email me. And if we have to, we can set up a team session. Friday will be our regular lab day. Then next week, and I don't know if it'll take one period or two. All right. I'd like to go through this very, just not in a lot of depth in our, I should say, I want to go through it, but I want to do it in a way where you understand it. So I want to go through a little bit of it, then we'll take, then we'll stop and talk about it, do a little bit more. In other words, I'm going to break it up into about 6 different versions, not 6 different tapes, but 6 different versions where I build it incrementally. If we do that in one day, that's fine. All right. I don't think it'll happen like that. Okay. It'll probably take a period and a half or 2 periods to do that. So if there is any remaining time, again, it'll just be lab. Then a week from today, on February 8th, you'll have the chapters 7 through 9 hands-on test, hot number 3. A week from tomorrow, we will go into Murox chapter 10, which is CSS grid. All right. And then finally, then a week from Friday will be a regular lab day. Now, your chapters 7 and 8, so not Flexbox, but your chapters 7 and 8, which we're talking about links and ordered lists and unordered lists, etc. for chapter 7. And then for chapter 8, it was on responsive web design. Those written tests, labs, and homework are due this Sunday. All right. And then your chapter 9 stuff will be due a week from Sunday. So the 5th and the 12th. All right. So with that said, this is the pretest that I passed out to you. Now, after I set it out, I thought to myself, it could be a little confusing to people. So without reading it, without doing anything, let me just tell you that at the end of every semester, that you are in the AWD program. So at the end of semesters 1, 2, 3, and 4, you have to turn in an electronic portfolio. All right. And the reason for that is we've discovered that over time, more and more prospective employers, what they want is they don't want an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, white piece of paper with black writing on it talking about your abilities. Rather, they want proof. They want to see examples of what you've done, what you have done. So that's the rationale behind the electronic portfolio. Now, again, this pretest, you don't have to turn anything in, okay? But the actual electronic portfolio that you can create, and this will kind of hopefully get you started on it. And that's all this is meant to be. That is due the day before the end of the semester, which is May 4th. All right. Just so you know, that's why this is up there like this. And you'll notice it's worth the equivalent of 1.5 tests. All right. So as it says, the pretest is roughly based on, on this e-portfolio that you have to do. Okay. What you are to do is you are to create a fully responsive, single page e-portfolio website that uses Flexbox. Now, rather than showing you pages 3 to 7, and we can go through those, this is right now, at least. As I said, I'm going to build it in versions. So I've been laying it out. But when I look on here, all right, this is the kind of thing you're going to build. Now, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. If yours looks totally different than this, it's okay. But at a minimum, it should have a home part, up near the top someplace, and about. And notice I didn't put any pictures or anything in there. If you decide you want pictures in here of you and etc. and very little text, you can do that. A resume, and I've got it set up where you can either download it in Word format or you can open up a PDF version. All right. Portfolio. And all I did was I went out and grabbed some pictures that were out there. All right. I grabbed some pictures that were out there of portfolio site and contact. And I looked at my contact. It's a little goofed up. So I got to fix that before next class. But this should utilize some of the stuff that we've talked about with Flexbox so that when you make it smaller like this, you can see I've shrunk the size of my text here. And now when you look at it, it looks just fine. All right. So you'll probably end up using one or more media queries to do all of that stuff. So with that said, let's just take a look at what's in here. All right. Again, in the email that I sent to you, I gave you those pictures of the websites. And again, I just pulled those off the internet. But you can use anything you want in here. In fact, as it says at the beginning of the paragraph that you can see on screen here, I would like you to change and use any images, any colors, any fonts, any formatting that you want. This is to be your electronic portfolio. What I don't really want are a whole class fulls that look exactly the same. Now, there's at least a chance that once you graduate, that one or more of you may apply for the same job. So really what should happen is this electronic portfolio should be a representation of you. All right, I'll just leave it at that. Now, as it says there, there's a lot to process here. That's why you're getting the rest of the period today, and I'll be done by 8:30, and all period tomorrow to work on this. Friday is our regular lab period. So again, you are getting the equivalent of 3 days of lab this week. All right. I will build my own copy. I'll start on Monday. If we get it done Monday, we get it done. Otherwise, I'll go into Tuesday and finish it on Tuesday. And then I gave you some notes. So the requirements that we're about to go over in just a minute, again, as I think I've already said, they're not cast in stone. Okay. So when I say include the requirements shown, what that means is going back to this, you should have a home section, an about section, a resume section, a portfolio section, and a contact section. Historically, the contact section is down near the bottom of the page. All right. But you might decide, for example, that down here you want to add something, maybe a social media section. All right. And you want to have a link to your Twitter page and or your Facebook page, etc. And that reminds me of something too. If you don't know about this, you really should go out to linkedin.com. All right. And basically, in a way at least, and I've said this before, and I've had people laugh at this, and it's not meant to be funny, and it's right here. So let me make this nice and big so that you can see it. All right. So it's linkedin.com. And in a way, it's kind of like Facebook for techies. All right. It's not exactly what it is, but what you can do is you can put yourself out there. All right. And as you can see, connections, I've got 293 connections, and I'm not bragging about that. What I'm telling you is over time, I always encourage students when they graduate, and you can do it before you graduate if you want to. All right. Um, to it's the equivalent of almost friend me on here. All right. But what you can put in there, just give you an example, and this is my stuff. And believe me, yours doesn't have to look like this. All right. But when you look in here, let's see, where is it? There's my experience. So you can see the stuff that's in here, etc. It's sort of like a mini resume. It's not exactly, but it sort of is. And you can post in here, you can friend other people in here, etc. You really should do that because that will give you a chance to professionally put yourself out there. All right. The other thing is if you do decide that you want, for example, to put a social media section in there, okay, well, especially this isn't maybe true right now for this assignment, but especially when you put an electronic portfolio out there, all right, make sure for that that you don't have any material either on Twitter or on Facebook that other people shouldn't see. I mean, nothing of a would be considered a vulgar type of nature, etc. All right. I know of a young lady who decided to become a teacher. All right. And this lady is now teaching. Okay. And from what I hear, is a good teacher. But when I, you know, had occasion to look at her Facebook page, and there were a lot of F bombs on there. Now that's her business. It's none of mine. But again, when you're out looking for a job, a lot of times what'll happen is people will go through your Facebook, right, to see what's out there. Okay. Enough of that. So that was the first one. Again, the requirements are not cast in stone. You can change them any way you want. If you decide you want to totally change around the look and feel, then do that. Number two, where I put in there on mine, your name and picture, you can put this in any way you want. I'm going to show you an example a little later, but actually put your picture in there. And I have people, I don't want to put my picture in there. Well, yeah, this is part of the requirements is yes, you put your picture in there. Now at the bottom of this, and again, mine is screwed up, so let's look at it smaller because it looks better there. Okay. There's again this form. Now we don't go over forms until chapter 13. So if you have trouble or you struggle with this one, don't worry about it. Just build it the best you can. All right. And I even mentioned in here that if you really get stuck, you can go out to the forums page for W3 schools and they'll show you, for example, there's the beginning of a form for you. All right. So if I go out to try it yourself, there we've already got this. All right. And when you look at what you're supposed to do or the way mine is, and yours can be any way you want it to be. But when I look at mine here, all right, and I've got name, email, subject, and then some kind of a, whatever. So I could come back into mine and just grab this and add a couple more things to it. All right. Again, it's not going to look that great, but it would be fine. So I could come in here and do this. all right, and put a couple more of these things in here. So first name, last name, or I could put them together if I wanted to do that. So first name, last name, subject, and then finally I could come in and do a very similar thing on the bottom here. And instead of making this another input line, I would make this, right here. I would make this a text area. Something like that. It's not, again, this isn't going to look great, but so what did I spend on that? You know, a minute or so. And if I submit, oh, what didn't it like? Let's see. There it is. All right, so there's first name, last name, subject. And again, you can play with this a little bit with CSS. If you want to put all this stuff here on the same line, etc., you can do that. I didn't put the word subject, so I could put another label in there. I've got subject right there. You know, I can come in here and just say, you know, message or something like that. So now, again, literally looking at this, I made that form, and I made the form literally in about 2 minutes. That's why I said you can go out here. If you don't want to do that, you can, there's all sorts of things that are out there. There's even things that you can add that will build forms for you. And as it says, if it doesn't look great, don't worry about it. It'll look better after we go through chapter, and I shouldn't have said chapter 11. It's chapter 13. All right. So again, the idea is this pretest is going to get you started on the way, all right, towards building your actual portfolio that's due at the end of the semester. Finally, as it says right here, there's a lot of really good YouTube videos and a lot of really bad ones out there. I found this one because I went out and looked this morning, and it's 39 minutes long. All right, after we get done with this, the gentleman who did this, it's like 39 minutes long, but basically that's what he does is he comes in here and he builds a an electronic portfolio, and he uses Flexbox. Now you might think, well, that's fine. Why did you even make that available to us? Because, you know, what a lot of people, what they will do when they get started is they'll go out and Google something and see if there's something out there that they can use. All right. So again, the idea is as we go through this, the objective, as it says, is you are basically to follow standard types of design practices and try it on a bunch of different browsers. Okay, and I think I showed you this already, but on the off chance I did not, I want to show you something here. And that is when I bring mine up here, the one that I have done right here. All right, again, if I come up to here, let's see, where is it? If I hit my F12 key, function key, all right, doesn't work, but if I go to inspect, that'll work. There it is. And if I go over to here and I click right here, it says toggle device toolbar. All right. And if I click on there, okay, I can actually go in. I don't remember how to do it right now, but let's see. But you can go in here, okay, and it says dimensions responsive. So this is how it would look right here on an iPhone 12 Pro. That's how it would look right now. All right, not real great, as you can see, and it's just that portion. But you can see, you could see all of it, in other words. All right, if I wanted to see how it would look on an iPad, I can come in here. Here's an iPad mini. So again, you can see how it would look on there. And you should try, at a minimum, you should try to bring this up. So you hit F12, you come over to here, and you just click, and it's got how it'll look on a lot of different mediums. The other thing that you can do is, and I mentioned this earlier, is there is a browser called Blisk. All right. It's the Blisk browser. It's in here. It'll be in here someplace. There it is. All right, blisk.io. And when you do that, it'll allow you to literally set stuff up on your screen. Now, if yours looks good, if it meets all the criteria, but maybe it doesn't look good on a tablet or whatever, it's not like I'm going to be taking off tons of points on it. I just want you to get used to running whatever it is you're working on multiple different devices. This actually is what I gave out um, for the first semester, as far as what they had to do for their, what they had to actually do for their portfolio. All right. Now, don't worry about this because we're going to learn this later on in the semester. You can actually publish things. There's a lot of different ways you can publish them, but one way you can for free is you can publish stuff right out to your GitHub account. All right, to what's called GitHub pages. And then anybody you give that URL to will be able to go out and look at your portfolio. All right. So as it says here, it should have, now when you do the actual portfolio to be turned in, you can do it as one page like we're doing here, or you can break it up into multiple pages. But you'll need a home section, an about you, a resume, a portfolio, and a contact. And that's what I showed you. All right. So don't worry about it. We are building it right now based on HTML5 and CSS3. Don't worry, we haven't talked yet about JavaScript. We haven't talked yet about Bootstrap. We haven't talked about Mobirise. All right. But the stuff in here pretty much does ring true in that each page or section should be similar in style and aesthetically pleasing, should contain content that's meaningful. Now, if you decide for right now, because this is what I did. So if you want to have, for lack of better words, let me close this, just garbage text that you put in there, that's okay. You can, if you want to put regular stuff in there, that's fine too. When you turn this in at the end of the semester, no, this shouldn't be garbage text. If it's an about section, it should be information about you. All right. Okay. There should be no broken links, missing images, or non-working code. So when you get all done with it, just test it out. Test out every bit that's on there, every link that's on there, etc. All right. Again, it should have some kind of an image of you and some kind of a working contact form. But don't worry about the contact form working or whatever right now. We will go over it when we do chapter 13. And again, that's why I gave you those pictures. We haven't done really 6 examples yet. But again, if you look at the one that I have done, you'll notice that if I go to about, there's my about, there's my resume right there, there's my portfolio section, and there's my contact section. So you can jump around. That's not hard to do. All right. And in fact, you know how to do this. I literally set up a thing that was an ID of home, an ID of about, an ID of resume, an ID of portfolio, and an ID of contact. And I'm able to use those jumps like we talked about in an earlier chapter. Okay. So, and again, what I did was I took mine and broke it down. So there's the beginning of mine. That's there was the thing on the top, the home. There was the about, and I didn't grab all of it. I just grabbed bits and pieces. There's my resume. All right. There's the portfolio section. So again, there's 6 of these when you break them down. And there's the contact section. And it should have a nice looking, not that this is great, but it should have a nice looking footer on the bottom too, with whatever you want to put in there. Again, feel free to use whatever colors you want. I would recommend to start this, I would either watch the URL, watch the thing I gave you on here, this YouTube video of this guy. It's about 35 to 40 minutes, or find another one. All right. And then start to just think of how you want to lay this thing out. and then start to lay it out. If you had got nothing more done than that today, that would be good. It really would, because then tomorrow you could start actually putting the pieces in. All right. Now you're the only one here right now watching live. Do you have any questions on anything that's in here or anything I've said?
So can you hear me? Sorry, Professor.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure my mic is working. So it's had everything at the bottom is attached with like a points. We're not worrying about that,
No,
right?
no.
That's
Very good
just for
question.
the
No.
pre-test
This
or in.
this is the way that it will be set up when you turn it in at the end of the semester.
Okay,
And because people have said, well, if I do this one now, if I decide after I've learned a lot more, etc., I want to do my portfolio totally differently. Is that okay? Yes.
okay,
This is meant to be an exercise where you're creating a website and you are utilizing Flexbox with it. That's all I can tell you.
alrighty. Then
Okay.
that's all I had.
Okay. All right. Then I will be online. But other than that, I will talk to you all on Monday. Have a good weekend. Thanks.
You as well.